Hello and welcome to episode 65.
64, you were so close.
Oh, so close. To Wrong End of the Stick podcast with me, Zach Eaton, and skipper Jonathan Nimmo.
Hello.
And, well, a bit of a somber mood, no doubt.
It's not the party atmosphere we were hoping for, is it? Partway through this series, but I mean, for me, it wasn't unexpected. I know you had other ideas, but
Well, I think we'll get into a little bit. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk a bit about the cricket that's been played mostly in India so far, although there's been a lot of other amazing cricket that has been played around the world. There's been some really interesting series going on, but we're just not going to touch on that today. We might have a bit of a world cricket roundup maybe next week or so, because there's been some really good tests going on. But for the England-India ones, yeah, we'll have a quick catch-up about what's been going on and what's potentially been going wrong for England. What else have we got on the agenda? We're going to talk about the 100.
Going to talk about the 100, some new signings.
New squads, and you know, a bit of sort of excitement starting to build, possibly. Towards that.
Just some movement, some stirring of the old... it's great to see this kind of news out and about, actually. It gets us back in the mood and thinking forward ahead for when times are a bit more normal. We can there again.
Exactly. And of course, we will have our new-ish feature. It's not that new anymore, is it? But our new-ish feature of the Umpire Strikes Back, which I'm still really enjoying that. So, yeah. Let us know if you're enjoying it. Send us a tweet to tell us you're enjoying it at Wrong End Podcast on Twitter. That'll be nice.
And if you're not enjoying it, don't send anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, just if you're not enjoying it, the best thing to do to let us know that is to go on to wherever you listen to your podcast and leave us a 5-star review. At that point, we will know you don't like it, and we'll scrap that feature. So, yeah, go and do that. Oh, dear. Right, shall we? We have to do something to, keep ourselves amused, don't we? In these times. So, England, India. Since we last recorded, there have been 3 tests played. Although the last one you could have been forgiven for blinking and missing it. It's like the shortest test that England have played in like 100 years or something. So it started well for England. England did well in the first one. They won the toss. Yep. Joe Root batted for like days, and England got the win. It started to go a bit wrong after that, and there's been a number of debates. So the second test, the pitch was the main debate, and it kind of was okay for a bit, and then it kind of fell apart, and England quite traditionally kind of fell apart, and it was a big win for India. So India won by 317 runs in that one, and then we came into it was the day-night test, and it was a bit of a debacle, really. It was over and done with in 2 days. Like, the pitch was horrific, and I don't think that's really in question. I think what has been questioned is whether that was really to blame for England losing. So England got 112 and then 81, whereas India got 145 and then they knocked off the last 49 runs without losing a wicket. But the game had kind of gone by that point. And the pitch was not in a good state whatsoever, but England were also not in a good state whatsoever. And I think there's been a fair amount of blaming the pitch, but I don't know if that's totally fair. So I think we need to get into that a little bit, but the fact is a 2-day test is awful. Nobody wants to see that. Everyone wants, I was planning my weekend around, I've got 2 days of solid cricket watching, and that just disappeared as it was over and done with. But spinners taking almost all the wickets on that one. I think one Indian pace bowler took a wicket, and of the India innings, Joe Root took 5 wickets. He took 5 for 8. And when Joe Root can take 5 for 8, there's something not quite right with the pitch. He shouldn't be getting a 5 for as a test bowler. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Where are we at? And more importantly for England, where do we go from here?
Well, I think there's so many outside of just the game and root squad and issues and questions about selection and about the pitch and about the umpires and about the questionable stuff. I think it does some of the things and bits and pieces that are floating around is that it really is the batting.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, you know, the reliance on Joe Root, and as you say, to be on a pitch like that, for him to be taking those kind of, we've just been exposed, I think, a bit here. I don't think we were really prepared. I don't think that I don't think the squad and the team that were out there were ready, or even the right people there to be doing the job that was out there. And we could say, oh well, conditions this, and you know, the umpires were favouring, some of the decisions were favouring the home team. That's fine, but it is about what the team can do to adapt and what they can do to get back from that. And have England done that in this scenario?
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, really. And I think there are issues around selection and rotation and England's policy on that. But I think there should be no debate that this was what we feared. This is what I talked about in our preview pod, was England batting collapses, and it's what we talked about when we were on the Armchair Cricket pod. You know, these are the things that we saw coming. We saw that this was a possibility. Yeah. And the fact that England haven't been able to adapt to the situation. Yeah. I actually think that the pitch debate is an interesting one, because I think what that has done is actually damaged India more than England. I think England would have lost these last two tests, even if it was a quote-unquote normal test pitch, if it wasn't this ridiculous thing that turned round corners after 5 minutes of play on it and didn't disintegrate instantly. Yeah. India would have still won, and probably won comfortably. And we wouldn't be having this debate about, well, is it the pitcher's fault? We would be having the debate about, well, how good are this India team? And they've kind of undermined their own victory on that point. So I think that was an error in their judgment. I really do.
Absolutely, and I think it goes back to another thing that you've mentioned before in one of our previous episodes about England's lack of spin on the side.
Yeah.
And, our batting lineup, I mean, we've got some great potential there. They're not ready yet. And England's batting has been definitely exposed in the last couple of tests, and their ability to adapt and change isn't there. And they haven't, either it's a mixture of experience, selection, all of those things. That's definitely an issue that I think needs to be addressed. But I think another thing that, as I say, you've mentioned is the lack of spin. And, you've got Leach and you've got some of the other guys in there, guest appearances almost, that are just kind of there for when these situations are, for global games, and we don't have a core set of spinners that we can use to sort of match up. And
we don't. And Bess and Leach have at various times taken wickets and bowled well, not necessarily at the same time. Best seems to have taken wickets when he's bowled badly, and then bowled well and not got wickets, which is weird, but some people just have that. But they've not been world-class spinners, either of them. And when those are the players that we're relying on, that is an issue. When you're playing in India, it just is. It's another weakness that we saw coming prior to the series. So I think England have been exposed in the way that we kind of expected them to be exposed.
Yep.
The thing that I have really not liked from this England team has been their reaction. I went there expecting a 4-0 loss. So I'm not terribly surprised that they're 2-1 down. I'm actually surprised they got their 1. But the nature, the body language, particularly in that last test, was not good. It was really negative. There were complaints to the umpires about decisions, and yes, there were definitely questionable decisions throughout the last couple of tests, really. But you use that, you fire yourselves up internally and be like, right, we're going to show them, we're going to use this, and it's us against the world, kind of. We're going to galvanize ourselves and really, and they didn't do that. They had that expression of, oh, well, we're just fighting a losing battle here. What's the point? And that's a really worrying sign to have seen from the team. Really, that's the bit that worries me more than anything. It didn't galvanize them into, oh, we're going to fight even harder then. it seemed to just push them into, oh, well, what's the point? And that's it's interesting because it's a situation that people will be in sort of amateur cricket all the time. You know, it's the similar sort of psychology, obviously on a different talent level, that, you know, people will face. And I think it is interesting how teams react to that. And yeah, you need the leaders in the dressing room to really pull you through and galvanise the rest of the team. And I'm just not sure we've seen that, which is a bit of a concern for me.
I think there's other things as well. I know I'm not making excuses for England at all, but just looking at, we knew that it was a difficult kind of set of restrictions, whether that's travel wise, and how that would impact on the morale of the team. And, you know, traveling overseas in India, the conditions aren't in your favour, having to adhere to COVID bubbles and stuff. I'm sure that would have had an impact on morale and possibly training and things that the team would usually do. But I think you're right. And I think in addition to that, I think there really needs to be, you know, a focus on sort of this, yes, the conditions are going to be different in India and suited to spin. What have you got up your sleeve for those situations? Do we have, you know, stop rotating the batsmen? It's the bowlers that need rotating. And when you look to our bowling lineup, there isn't much spin, and the batsmen don't know how to play against it. And that's what's been made apparent in these last couple of tests. And, you know, we've seen it being done in the past, but there is something that really needs to kind of be ship-shaped ready for this year when stuff gets back to normality, because there won't be excuses from you know, hopefully in the summer of 21 onwards. There's not going to be these excuses of restricted travel and stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, and I think that the thing, there are positive signs to a certain extent with some performances. You know, you have seen some good batting performances from some people on occasion. It hasn't been consistent enough. And as I say, I went in there. We know India are a better team, and I'm not trying to take any of that away from India. I think they're probably the best test team in the world right now. And so it was always going to be a struggle. But we have seen elements where throughout professional sport where a lesser team can overcome a better team, you know, with mental strength, and that's the bit that's kind of lacking a little bit. But there are some shoots, there are some positive elements in there, and we go in to the final test in India still in chance with drawing the series, which isn't a bad position to be, really. And if Joe Root comes out and has another, you know, he gets himself in and scores another double century, then suddenly India are under pressure in front of their own fans and things, and who knows what can happen. We might yet draw the series, and it's not felt like a series that we've been in, because the last two tests have been so one-sided, but, you know, we're still in with a shout of it. So there are potential bright spots there for England. So it's not all doom and gloom, and there's things they can work on, and I just hope that that's what they've done as they've had an extended break, because, you know, that last test finished so early. I hope that kind of they've really have been sort of working on that team bonding, that morale, and that gritty determination, because that's what they need to overcome a bigger team. So yeah, fingers crossed they'll show a bit more grit this next time.
Hoping so.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the cheeriest of topics, was it, really, for us? You know, I'm sure all our Indian listeners out there will love it, but you know, and to be fair, let's give credit where it's due. India have, for the most part, played very well. They've got spinners playing well. Rohit Sharma's been in tremendous form with the bat, and, you know, even on that first game, the seamers were even playing really well. So, you know, there's been good performances by India, and I don't want that to go unrecognised as well, because they have played really well, and there's no doubt in that. Ravi Ashwin is proving why he's, you know, a top level spinner, taking 24 wickets, I think he has taken. So, you know, yes, they've been turning pitches that suit him, but you know what? Absolutely. You know, why wouldn't they create that? You know, if we could create weather conditions in England to suit Jimmy Anderson, we'd do it every time. So I get it, and yeah, well played India so far, but it's still all to play for. Right, shall we talk about the 100?
Let's talk about the 100.
It gets us more cheery and excited, doesn't it? Not everybody out there still approves of the 100, but hey, it's cricket at the end of the day. We've had a year of lacking in sport, so let's embrace everything that comes our way.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good. So the new squads. So the squads, obviously, some of which remain the same as last year, but obviously some players' availability will change year to year. So the squads have changed somewhat, and we've been having a flick through earlier today on what the squads are looking like. So how are you feeling? You're a London Spirit fan. For anyone who hasn't listened for a little while when we'll be talking about the 100, how are you feeling with the London Spirit squad?
I am. There's some names I don't know, but there are two in particular, three actually, in terms of all-rounders and batsmen that I'm really pleased with. We've got Glenn Maxwell for London Spirit. We've got Owen Morgan, the man, the legend himself, and we've got Zach Crawley, some young talent as well that's shown some real good potential from the batting side of things. We've also got some awesome kind of names and other players as well involved. Mark Wood, I'm happy to see on board. Joe Denley, one of your personal favourites, I understand.
You had to, didn't you? You had to go right there. I didn't hate him enough already. He's back to haunt me in the 100. They're gonna win, and they're gonna beat my team, and he's gonna probably get like a 50 or something in it, and I'm gonna hate him even more than I already do. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. But no, I'm really pleased with the team, and I look across all of the other teams as well, and I think they are fairly balanced if you look at it.
The squads are actually looking pretty solid overall. I think there's some really good players scattered throughout. I think the key player for you with that team is Owen Morgan. Owen Morgan's captaincy could win you games, because he's such a good captain, and I think that's going to be so important in this format. I think he will win you games on your own. You've also got Mason Crane, who's an interesting one as a young spin bowler. It's going to be an interesting one to watch, see how he does in that. And watch out for Jade Dernbach. I know you probably won't know him, and he's an older player now, but he was a bit of a T20 specialist a few years back, so I'll be interested to see what kind of form he's in. I've not heard his name mentioned very much of late, but very much like a good death bowler, good variations and things. So it'll be interesting to see how he does.
How are you feeling about your team, Jonathan?
I'm not over the moon. I'm not going to lie. I'm not. There's some really good players, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. That there is talent in this team, but I look at that team and I look at it compared to the rest of the squads, and I think. I could see this team finishing last. I could see this as the weakest of all the teams. So yeah, we've got. I mean, Aaron Finch is a class player. Chris Lynn is in there. He's also a really good player. Adil Rashid, and on his day, short format, he's an excellent spin bowler. And we're not too bad in terms of the bowlers. David Willey and Ollie Stone, really good. Ollie Stone's going to bring that pace. David Willey's been there, done it all. So there's some good players. Don't
forget the big man himself. You do have Stokes on there as well.
Yeah, but I don't know how much he's going to actually play. That's the thing. Because it just depends on what the schedules look like, and I haven't looked into the schedule. So I mean, Stokes, if he's there and playing for us regularly, then that's obviously he's a match winner in and of himself. But I just don't know how much those top level players are going to play, and it just depends how the schedules match up, I guess. And I've just not looked at that yet. But yeah, I mean, as I say, Stokes, if he plays, is going to change games. But if I could trade squads with the London Spirit squad, I would. If I could trade squads with the Welsh Fire, I would, because I really like that Welsh Fire team. Johnny Bairstow, Jai Richardson, Kieran Pollard, Tom Banton, I think Ben Duckett, Liam Plunkett. There's some top quality players in there. So, yeah, I'm not overly confident, but actually I really like going into tournaments supporting the team that's the bit of the underdog, and I feel like we're the underdog at this point. So I'm going to enjoy that side of it as much as anything else.
Just based on the teams, then, who would you have your money on to be winning the 100? Just based on what's in front of us in terms of selection.
Entirely based on teams. Can I pick two? Can I pick what I think the final would be?
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
I think I would pick the Welsh Fire and what are they called? The Oval Invincibles, are they, or something? There's something. I can't remember what their team name is now, and I can't see it on I've got the squad thing. It's Oval Invincibles, isn't it? Yeah. I think those are the two strongest squads. The Oval Invincibles, you've got Sam Kerr and Rory Burns. Sunil Nareen's a brilliant short form player. Jason Roy, Sam Billings, Reece Topley's a good player. Tom Curran in there. I think those two squads are really solid. I mean, I'd never write off a team that has Kane Williamson in it. So I think the Birmingham Phoenix, don't ever write them off.
Yeah, I would have gone with.
Well, yeah. What's your thoughts? Who do you see? Who are you picking as your final at this point?
I think Spirit for me, I think Spirit is going to be up there, and I also, I mean, Southern Braves are looking pretty good, but it's probably going to be either it would be London Spirit with either the Rockets.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I reckon you got some danger, like you got some dangerous characters in there, and I think depending on the schedule, there might be some just really big bangs going on, and I think the Rockets, they've got some names in there that if they pop off, it's going to cause a bit of controversy.
They're three foreign players: Rashid Khan, Darcy Shaw, and the Golden Mile. If they're fire, that's a serious firepower in there. That's a really dangerous team. And then you got Alex Hales and David Milan as well, who are solid. So Big Wright, really good short form player as well. So they look good as well.
Either the Rockets or the Brave. So I'll probably go London Spirit against the Rockets.
Okay, interesting.
Bit of controversy, I reckon, but I reckon that's what this is about. And I think with the scheduling, I think it will be it won't be as solid as we've done some tournaments.
It depends who's available for what games and stuff, and if everyone's available for all games, then it's going to change the dynamics of it a little bit. But it's going to be a really good, interesting series anyway. So we'll see what happens with it. But I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
It's probably going to be two. There's only 8 teams, and we mentioned 4 of them, so there's probably going to be 2 that none of us have mentioned, isn't it? That would be hilarious.
Probably.
Oh dear. Right. Shall we give a couple of bits of news before we move on to the Umpire Strikes Back?
Yes.
So 2 bits of news, and one that you were mentioning was weirdly, we're going to talk politics for the briefest of minutes. Is that there's some money coming towards cricket by the look of
it. Money.
Yeah. So apparently, how much did you say it was? £200 million? Or they're going to be increased? We're going to get a share of anyway, 300 million. Did you say?
Yeah.
A share of 300 million to sort of back sports and domestic sport in this country, which is brilliant news. I don't know what it'll be used for, but any money coming towards cricket has got to be a positive thing.
So I'm going to get the article up. It's basically about 300 mil as part of the recovery kind of plan. Because obviously, and same for everywhere around the world, economy with people working from home and furlough and everything else, and sport has been massively impacted by that. there is a kind of recovery package, and cricket is going to see a fair bit of that. Being handed over and pumped into. So yeah, a significant chunk of the 300 million summer sports recovery package. So it's not the full 300 million. No. So tennis and horse racing are also going to be kind of benefiting from that. But in terms of cricket, it's going to be a big chunk of that. So that's really exciting stuff.
That is exciting. That's that's really good news. And I think any money coming towards cricket, I think if we look at the viewing figures of Channel 4, they've had really positive response to the fact that they're showing the England-India series. So hopefully that kind of thing continues, because that's what is really going to grow the game. More and more. It's going to get more people interested in cricket. And that can only be good for it. So anything that they can do to increase participation and viewers and all the rest of it to cricket is got to be positive, hasn't it?
Yeah. Just need more free-to-air stuff.
We definitely do. Good. And the opening games of the 100 are going to be shown on BBC, which is positive. And BBC, as we know, in this country gets higher viewing figures than any other channel. So anything that's on the BBC, should do well viewing-wise. So that should be positive as well.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully we'll get some entertaining games where the Northern Superchargers win.
We'll see. We'll see.
Any other bit of news that we have is that England have hired some new coaches.
Yes.
So England have hired 3 new coaches that are coming in to basically just to join the other coaches that they've already got, which is, I think, quite a bit positive news as well. And one of them in particular, I really like this appointment. So Marcus Trescothick is coming in as the elite batting coach. Now, I think he'd retired by the time that you were sort of getting in and watching more cricket. So he was an England opener, but he was just a really solid batsman. You had to prize him out. He's got a Test average of 43. A higher score of 219. So he scored 14 centuries for England. 29 half centuries. He just really, is a really good, solid batsman, and he's spoken a lot actually about depression. He really struggled with a lot of the travelling, and he had anxiety and panic attacks and things when he was travelling, and had battled with a lot of mental health problems, and really brought that to light in elite sport in a way that hadn't been done, certainly in cricket, but in a lot of sports. So I think there's an awful lot that England batsmen can learn from him in both respects, in terms of the mental game and the technical aspects of the game as well. So I think that's an absolutely tremendous hire. I mean, he's been working as a coach for Somerset for the last couple of years or so, I think. But I think he, if you get him and he can pass on some of his traits to the sort of young batting lineup that England have, your Zach Crawleys, your Dom Sibleys, your Ollie Popes and things, if they can start to get a bit of both technique and mentality, then I think England batting lineup could be extremely solid in a few years. So I think that's a fantastic hire, personally. And they're going to work with Collingwood and the other coaches that they've already got as well. So this is just 3 extra pairs of hands, effectively, to get involved. So yeah, I think that's a really positive thing. Excellent.
Any spin specialists in that coaching lineup? Or?
There is, yes. Jitan Patel, the New Zealand spinner, or ex-New Zealand spinner. So the hope is that he can do something, but I don't know. It's tricky. I think the thing for me is that you've got to have the players that have got that potential to work with.
Yes.
I'm not
that's
sure
a very good point.
Spinners do, and I think that's the bit that kind of worries me.
Yes.
That, you see the potential there with the English batsmen. You see that there's glimpses, there's flashes of it with the bowlers. I think you can definitely improve them. But I mean, you could have the best coach in the world teaching us how to play. It would help us to a certain degree, but it's not going to make us, we're not going to be getting an England team anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I think that's my concern. I think he's got a really solid record himself. Patel, and he's taken plenty of wickets and things, but what can he do with the talent that he's working with? I don't know. We'll see. But it'll be interesting.
Like a real commandeering kind of, you look at players like Swanee and what's the Australian spinner, the chirpy one?
Lyon
and Yasir Shah, and you look at those players as spinners, and you think, like they've got it sussed, and they're thinking, and they'll let you smack it out of the park for 6, and then before you know it, it's where you don't expect it to be, and they know it, and I don't see that with like the England players. They're trying, and they'll throw a little bit of variation here and there, but they don't seem like confident, in control, and it would be nice to see a character like that. Just one England spinner that's kind of
swagger is what you want, isn't it? It's like swagger, and it's what Warne had. Shane Warne, when he came on, he won half the battle mentally because everyone was terrified of him, and I was terrified when he came on the ball. I was like, oh god, oh no, this is going to be really tough, and who knows what's going to happen. And it was all mentality. That was what part of it was. And England just don't have that at all. And you're right, Graham Swan had it, Nathan Lyon has it. It's that just swagger, a slight arrogance, that slight
yes.
It's confidence bordering on arrogance that
it's that just self-belief, that knowing, and I don't think we've got that in so hopefully selection kind of favours us, and we see some talent kind of popping up somewhere in the England team. But good to know that we've got some new hands helping out with the coaching. Right.
Shall we go and do
the Umpire Strikes Back? Yes. I'm excited. Who wants to go first?
You go first, because I think you've got 2. I think I've only got 1 for you today. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so you go first.
I'll do the one that I just kind of. It's a little bit of a red sort of herring one, I guess. But I want to do the second one because I relate to the second one more. So I'll give you this one. See what you think. So, for your first Umpire Strikes Back, a batsman walks out to the crease, and he's literally just got married. He kissed the bride. They were like, "Thank you very much, you're all married." He's run all the way to his village pavilion.
That's a wedding day and a half, isn't it?
That's
if
amazing.
You've got a wife who's allowing you to do that on your wedding day, then you've done well for yourself.
What a perfect day. Couldn't be any better. So the first delivery he faces an absolute kind of chin music, right? Bounces off of him, clips his buttonhole flower, his little brooch that he's got.
Where is this going?
I know. Brooch flies off the shirt, hits the bails, and both of them are dislodged. What do you call it?
So, right, let me get this straight. So he's come out to bat.
Yeah.
It's bowled at him. It's hit him in his chest.
Yeah.
And then gone on to hit the bails.
No, the ball's not gone on to hit the bails.
Oh, the flower has gone on to hit the bails.
The flower in his... Yeah.
Right. This is mental. I really hope what has happened to someone somewhere. If this has ever happened to you, then, I want to know about it. What happens there? I think that's out. I think if you've got anything on you that comes off, it's the same as if a ball was bowled and it hit you in the helmet, your helmet came off and hit the stumps. I think that's out. And I think it's out, hit wicket, probably. Because I think if there's anything on you that comes off you, hits the wicket, I think that's out. I'd be giving that. I'd be sending him on his way. Getting back to his wedding reception and tell him to enjoy. But that's an out for me.
That's an out for him. Yes, well, you are 100% correct, Mondo.
I thought you were going to say I was wrong with that one. I wasn't confident. I was like, no, that's what I think, but I wasn't confident I was right on that one.
Well, it's interesting. Whatever a player is wearing, when they started, is going to be considered their clothing or equipment. So, irrespective that obviously the flower isn't what you would suspect to be part of your gear or equipment as a batsman. The fact that he came out with it is just that, well, that's part of it. So the fact that it hit the flower, bounced off and hit the bails doesn't really matter. It is he's out. Yeah, It doesn't matter. It's part of his stuff. So
I'll take that. That's
out.
Good. I'll have that. One down.
Nice.
Right.
One down.
Do you want yours?
Yeah.
Right. Spin bowler is walking up to spin, and he goes to take a catch, and he hits his hand, but he drops it. But he's cut his finger, and he gets a plaster put on his finger, and then he goes to start bowling again. Yeah. And the opposition captain complains and says that the plaster is now a bowling aid, and that's going to allow him to get more grip on the ball, so he shouldn't be allowed to bowl anymore. What do you do?
Wow. Okay.
It's a tricky one, that one. I have to say, it's a tricky one.
So I don't know if the contextual information really matters. So he's hurt his hand. Yeah. He's taken a catch and the ball's cut him.
Yeah.
And it's his turn to bowl. He's obviously put a plaster on it. And opposing captain's not happy because...
Yeah, it might give him an advantage. Might get a bit more grip than your finger would.
Well, I imagine that it would have to... I think if I was umpire, I'd have a look at the plaster and see if it's one of those kind of... If it's just one of those like waterproof ones, I don't think that would give you a lot of grip.
I love that you're going in full in depth. What kind of plaster?
There's different kind of plasters. You get the plasters that are like textured on the other side, like the rough ones, like the skin coloured, the traditional skin coloured ones that you get, and they're quite rough. And I can imagine you can get a bit more purchase on the ball. But the kid ones,
are you seriously?
Or the blue waterproof ones.
Depending on what kind of plaster it is, you do different things for this.
I would, yeah, I would. Honestly, if it was me, I'd be like, what kind of plaster is it? Like, get him one of the kid ones from the first aid box that are like the waterproof slippy ones.
Has it got a Hello Kitty?
Yeah. Get him one of these Power Rangers ones. Get on with it. I would say.
Oh my word!
I'd say it'd be up for inspection, and then, I think stuff the opposing captain. I think he's cut himself. You can't play with an exposed kind of cut and handling the ball, just like anyone wouldn't be expected to. So I think the umpire should let him play on as long as the plaster isn't kind of doing that. So I'd say play on.
I mean, you've stumbled around and fallen.
I'd say play on.
You've fallen upon the exact right answer somehow, but I honestly have no idea. Please don't ever become an umpire, because if this is how you make those decisions, God knows how that. What type of plaster is it? What does it have on there? Is that all right? Yeah. No. Basically, you have stumbled on the right answer eventually. It's the captain's not a doctor. You're not a doctor. You can't say if he needs a plaster for his cut, he needs a plaster for a cut, and you just tell him to get on with it. That's if he just had put plasters on for no reason, then you might start to question it a bit more. But no, he's got a cut, he needs a plaster, get on with it, it's fine. But you don't start questioning what kind of plaster he's using.
Well, I think. Well, look.
Maybe you do. Maybe each umpire to their own. If you want to question,
if it's one of those.
Look,
cricketers out there, the plasters I mean, which are all textured, the skin-coloured ones, right?
I just think it's mental.
It's not. You'd have to go back and be like, right, doctor, strap him up with one of the Hello Kitty plasters, the slippy ones, the waterproof ones, because they're having a go.
Well, there you go. There we are.
Right, I've got a bonus one for you. I like this one.
Go on.
I like this one.
Give me a bonus one.
So an ambidextrous slow bowler.
Yeah.
So he can use both hands to bowl.
Yeah.
He is mixing it up during an over.
Yeah.
Switching from bowling left-handed to right.
Yeah.
And this is whilst running up. Batsman doesn't object. But what do you do? Do you intervene?
Well, I've got a gut instinct, and that's what I tend to do on these questions because I never actually know the answer. So my gut instinct is to say, you have to announce what you're going to be bowling. In the same way you have to tell them whether you're bowling over or around the wicket. I think you have to tell them whether you're bowling right or left arm as well.
Mm-hmm.
Before you start your run up. So you can change it absolutely throughout the over. So one ball could be one and one ball could be another. But I think you have to announce it first. So yeah, I would intervene and say that he needs to say if he's switching action.
Absolutely on the ball. Yeah, 100%. So you can't just change without informing the umpire, who can then ensure that the striker is aware.
Yeah.
You need to make your intentions clear about what delivery or what hand you're going to be doing it. So yeah, you can't allow play to continue under, that kind of under that. So even if the batsman is relaxed, you have to call it a no ball, and then he'd have to let you know. So yeah, 100%.
Good times. Nailed it. We were on form today.
On form.
Good times. Well, we should quit while we're ahead, I think.
Yeah, that's it. I think
you're right. Oh dear. Well, thank you for everybody for listening. If you could go on wherever you are listening, leave us a nice little 5-star review. That would be lovely. Also, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so on Twitter or Instagram at Wrong End Podcast, or you can email us wrongendofthestick@hotmail.com. And other than that, we will be back next week or the week after.
Next week with
Probably we'll be back after the final England-India test anyway.
Yes, so. Either in shock and awe or kind of
sad, but ultimately unsurprised. Accepted.
Yes, just accept it. Yeah.
Dear. So, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See you soon. Cheers.